Can't even see him.
Yeah, I know, it's really nuts, isn't it? Yeah.
How are you?
Joe emerged, just emerged. Where's he is in the
Boda.
Oh, okay.
It's an old Boda. ABC sports broadcast.
They get credits.
How are you now? Good.
Dennis put me too, and like,
Yeah, really, that's right. You don't look like you have numbness sort of thing. Okay, good.
just like,
Good, excellent. Do you drink? Do you go to saloon?
I go to, Bishop's Street,
Oh, okay.
whatever, and it's really, Dr. Adriana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Today is Monday. It is April 4th? No, 7th? No, 7th. Sorry.
I'll be in trouble.
This is a special meeting and a work session. So the only item on the special meeting agenda is item 1, consideration of change order number 2 for the Trinidad water storage tank. We have specifically for the water tank bypass and the PRV installation for the south tank rehabilitation for $212,882.35. So I see Mr. Begill, and that should be the gentleman that's going to give us the information.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Just to amend a couple items, first of all, on the subject. I had to do this in a hurry Friday. We got some late bids Friday afternoon. We were in a hurry to get this on the agenda for today. But the $212,882 should be 38 cents, not 35 cents. And then under the expenditure required, again, instead of 0 cents, should be 38 cents on that one. So, under consideration and approval of change order number 2 for the Trinidad water storage tank rehabilitation, specifically for the water tank bypass and the PRV installation for the south side tank rehabilitation for a cost of $212,882.38. We originally, when we put this out to bid, as I explained previously, we were in somewhat of a hurry in order not to lose that $1 million ARPA grant, so we had to put it out to bid. So we were kind of cost conservative. We didn't know if we were going to get that $3.4 million through the state revolving fund. So Black and White originally, in order to drain the south side tank, which is just right behind the hill, they designed was to do a temporary bypass where they tie into the inlet pipe and the outlet pipe and just stub it up above ground. And then they're going to run a temporary line above ground just to do that work on that tank. But once we got the additional funding, instead of wasting money on just a temporary line, which is just a one-time deal, we had them add to the design and do a permanent bypass. Instead of coming along the north side of the tank, we have a lot of room available to us on the south side of that tank. So we did some piping underground, put some additional T's and valves to where in the future, if we ever want, not if, when we need to build another tank, these things really don't last so long, the piping will already be there in place to build another tank side by side with this without having to drain the tank and have any customers out of water. So that's what the additional money is for, to do that bypass.
How long will that tank last when they build it?
Just, well, these tanks were built in 1967.
No, I mean, the new construction, I'm sorry, the new piping, how long?
Oh, that could last. We have piping underground 80 to 100 years old right now. So if it's well designed, and we're going to put PVC pipe up there so it's corrosion resistant, we shouldn't have to worry about corrosion. So, yeah, so you're looking at 80 to 100 years. And there's not much pressure on that up there, so the pressure won't be a problem. We did, WBS is our tank contractor. They gave us an original bid to do it themselves. We were a little concerned because Black and Beach initially had it for $250,000, so we asked them to go out and get 2 more bids. They got a bid from Willow Creek, was considerably high, and RMS Utilities, who's one of the contractors, did all the pipeline work on First Street. They gave us a very, very good bid, so WBS was willing to match that bid and remain the general contractor. That way they have they can meet the timelines with all the work and the subsequences with transferring from one tank to the other. So we're going to go ahead and recommend we go with WBS's quote to do the pipeline work on the bypass and to install the PRV on Santa Fe Trail. So the money available, let me get to that too. We have, as of right now, we have $1,780,304 available as of right now. This change order number 2 would be for $212,882. After that, if council approves it today, we would have $1,567,422 available after this request. As you know, we've already been approved to go out for a grant for the Old Sopers Road. If we get the full amount, we'll need $1 million to match. We could use the state revolving fund, this excess for that, which will still leave us $567,422 available for the water storage tank rehab. So we're trying to wisely use the remaining of the fund, because again, if we don't use it all, we'll lose it. And out of that $3.4 million, there's $2.2 million that's forgiven. If we don't use it all, it'll get prorated, so we won't get the full funding. So we're trying to find a wise way to use this money and put it to good use. So, any questions?
Mr. Aaron, do you have any questions?
Mayor, may I ask at the end, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Name
will there be additional piping for the other tanks?
No, just this
Just
one
the
tank.
okay.
Correct.
That's all.
It seems like we're staying way under budget on this and moving forward, just forward looking on our infrastructure.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, this pipeline would, like I said, not if, all these tanks will need to be replaced sooner or later. The piping will be in place already to support the new tank if and when we decide to build one, so.
Thank you for being diligent with your funding. Thank you so much.
Sure.
No questions? No questions.
Seems really ingenious to do this and have a permanent solution of something that was just going to be temporary, and then that money would be gone and wasted, so I appreciate that.
So I kind of lost the little information there. So why didn't we decide on this prior to?
So when we first went out to bid, as I explained, we had to have the ARPA funds committed by December of last year, or we lose
Okay.
that $1 million. So we only had $2 million available at the time that we went out to bid. So Black and Beach was trying to be conservative and try to get as much done as we could with the money. We didn't know if we were going to qualify for the $3.4 million state revolving fund. So we went ahead and put it out to bid. And after the fact, we got the $3.4 million state revolving fund, which gave us a total of $5.4 million available now. And then when WBS, the original estimate from Black and Beach was for $4,916,801. WBS was a low bid for $3,098,121, which had a $250,000 included in that bid
Okay.
to do this allowance. But when we got the additional $3.4 million, that gave us the ability to expand our project, and instead of doing this temporary bypass, we could do a permanent bypass, which will give the city the ability to add another tank whenever we feel that's necessary, without having to make any other interruptions in water supply for our residents.
So what you're saying is the bypass was always in the plan.
Correct.
But we switched from
Temporary
temporary
to permanent.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yes.
Okay,
And it also gives us the ability, if anything should ever happen to the south side tank, it get contaminated, or the south side pump station which fills that tank, it gives us the ability to bypass that tank and continue to feed off the north side tank, and the PRV that we're installing will give us the ability to feed off of the Allendale tank. Because right now there are two separate pressure zones which are not connected together. That PRV is connecting the two pressure zones. It'll give us the ability to feed off of the Allendale tank, north side tank, and totally bypass that south side tank. If we were doing temporary, that piping would not be in place. We'd have to go back and put the piping above ground. But since it's going to be permanent, it gives us that redundancy to be able to continue to move forward without that tank in place.
okay. Do we need to do that same procedure on the other tanks? The bypass?
At the north side tank, we don't have the area to put another
Okay.
tank, so neither do we on the Allendale tank. The south side tank's fairly flat up on top where we have the room to put another tank next to it
Okay,
with minimal excavation.
okay. That too makes sense, Mr. Beaver.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
If I may, Mayor.
Oh, I forgot.
Thanks. So, when we did the last change order for the taking the metal down with bare metal
Correct.
and doing
That
the
was change order
epoxy
number
coating.
1.
Yep. At that point, I know that I asked if that change order was going to cause a change in the way that we have done the future casting in Waterworth. So in the same way, will this expenditure, does that change anything that we've done forward-looking in Waterworth? Are we encumbering ourselves with a unintended rate increase here in just a little bit?
Actually, yes and no. The more money we spend toward the water tank rehab, the less money we'll have available to other projects, but we're still doing okay because, as I explained, we're going to have, if we get that $1 million grant for the Old Soapers Road project that was just submitted, it was due by April 1st, we can reallocate that $1 million to go toward the Old Soapers Road project, and if we do that, that's going to save our residents a lot of money that we won't have to fund out of our own water budget. So it's kind of a, it does help out toward future rate increases. But we need to use this money, but we just got to find creative ways to use it so we don't lose it. So we're wanting to roll it over onto this other project.
I guess maybe a better way to ask what I was asking is, of the 1.7 million remaining, that money's already in the Waterworth project looking forward, right? So, I mean, if we fully utilize that money, that's not encumbering us with a rate increase necessarily.
Oh, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I
Yeah,
just
this is all grant money. This is not
Correct.
coming out of our budget, so yeah, you're standing, that's correct.
I just wanted to make sure because I think that's going to be, for lack of a better word, way to describe it, that's going to be a hot button topic for the public at large,
Correct.
or easy for people to spin in a way that would make it appear that we're misusing public dollars. So I just want to have that addressed. So to state it plainly, the 1.7 that's remaining is already accounted for in the future looking of the Waterworth software. That is accounted for.
I would say yes, and if we don't use that money, it could probably impact our residents more because then that means then we're going to have to come up with that out of budget instead of using grant money for that.
Okay.
So,
And then from where we're sitting currently, right now, is there any other, and I mean, I know, several other people have asked this various ways, but I just want to ask you directly, is there any other major change orders being conceptualized at this point that we know of?
no. This was not to be as a change order, but a work directive. We knew this work was going to have to take place. We budgeted $250,000 out of the state revolving fund for this. But since we've made the changes to design, plus one thing we didn't take into consideration, and because we didn't have the state revolving fund loan at the time.
Right.
Once we got the state revolving fund loan, we had to abide by the AIS, the American Iron and Steel. and Bacon Davis wages. That also escalated the cost of this project, so we weren't accounting for that initially until we got state revolving fund
So
loan.
the majority of the expenditures for something that would have been temporary, but is going to be a permanent installation in lieu of the temporary.
What's the question though?
Oh, no.
Huh?
Well, instead of a temporary bypass, we're doing a permanent bypass.
That's
So
good.
it's expended money that we won't have to demolition and effectively lose.
That's correct. Yes.
I have no further questions.
May I piggyback off of that real quick?
Sure.
Just to kind of just so for clarification, sir, you had mentioned that there was 567,000 and some change that's going to be left over after we pledged, if we pledged the $1 million for the grant. So in that 567, we will be able to, if we needed to do more projects,
If more change orders come up, then that's the remaining money that we could use go toward the water tank layout.
Okay, just wanted to make that
Yes.
clear. You gotta make sure that there's money still floating out there to
Correct.
be able to do these.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. He's gone already. I was gonna say, thank you for the.
No, he's.
No, he's right there.
Yeah, I see it. He's hiding behind Linda. Okay. That concludes the special meeting. The next item on the agenda is a work session. There's only one item on the work session as well. The following item is on file for consideration of City Council. Discussion, item number 1, discussion of lease or management proposal for Trinidad Municipal Golf Course.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. What you have before you is a 53-page request for proposal. The reason I'm bringing this forward now is I won't be here, and I wanted to get it out there in front of you. It's not really for public dissemination yet. I noticed some board members here. I appreciate them coming. This is to get council input on this whole document that I have placed before you so that everybody has a fair shake at it, so we don't want to hand this out. It's not ready for publishing, it's close. There's a few things that I wanted to get council's direction on, and that is the fact that this is a two-part. Somebody could either operate as a lease, or they could go a full service management agreement. The difference being that kind of in the current situation, it's sort of a lease, so that would be like the golf association operating it, or whoever operating it as a golf course with the clubhouse and the restaurant and everything that way. Or it could be a full service management agreement where somebody comes in and proposes and says, for, I don't know, certain amount, the city pays us and we'll take it over and manage it. So it's a two-part, and there's the way this is set up, it could be done either way. So that would come in the proposal stages. And the way I have it set up now, I noticed that I didn't get a few dates changed, but the RFP would be issued May 12th. Letters of interest, people who would want to submit to this would give us the name of people who would be in charge of all contacts and addendums and questions and back and forth. That would be June 13th. Then the city would have a pre-proposal meeting on June 27th. And then the deadline for questions would be July 25th. The proposal due date would be August 8th. And then the city would review the proposal and shortlist from August 11th through August 22nd. And then if required, there'd be interviews August 25th and 26th. And then there would be a notice of conditional award to somebody, whoever you decided by September. And then there would be a period of contract negotiations, agreement negotiations from September 8th through the 12th, with the possible execution of a contract by September 16th. That gives the current lessee the season to operate, and it's kind of shutting down there, but then the start date for the new would be probably January 1st. So that's a good stretch of time for people to submit and go through. That could be compressed, expanded, but I think we owe it to the current board. They're up there doing a good job, and they could take this and submit as well, a proposal. But it was my understanding for the last 2 years, it was like we extended with the thought that we needed to do something. So this is what I have in front of you. It lays out pretty extensively how to operate, what we would expect, how we want the grass maintained, how we want the restaurant run, how we want. I mean, it's pretty extensive, and I did take this and meld a couple agreements from other cities together. But the key goals of this process is to identify a management company or lessee that will maximize financial performance, provide great value and affordable access for citizens, and enhance these valuable community assets. And then we even have performance expectations lined out in there. I know, like I said, it's 53 pages of documentation, so I don't know if council wants to interrupt, but the city requests successful. Also, in here I put that the successful proposal offered the opportunity for employment interviews to current municipal golf employees, and that any current employees deemed appropriate by the successful proposal be retained. So that was a statement that I added in there. And then there's the lease agreement. Like I said, it would offer us, the city would still be the lessee, and the lessee would either pay or, like it is now, they manage the course based on what how it's operated, and that would be the payment that would be negotiated. The lease option, as laid out in the current proposal, is 4 years. That's up for city council to discuss whether they want it. The other one is the management agreement, which they assume the responsibility of the golf course, formulating and implementing business plans, marketing, promotion plans, maintenance, operating maintenance, budget, everything, and the city would, they would develop a facilities improvement master plan, and then the city would actually work on an agreement where we actually pay that for that service. So it's kind of a fee-for-service management contract. I'm spouting off a lot. I don't know if council has had a chance to review it, but yes, sir.
I was just going to say, and I'm sorry for interrupting, Mike, but do you want to discuss that? I mean, that's kind of a big concept.
Right.
A lease versus a management company. Any thoughts the council may have?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
No problem. It's what I'm-
So, Mr. Downs,
Madam Mayor. Yes, I
give
mean,
us a synopsis of what the difference is.
well, what you're seeing is, as Mike was indicating, a management agreement would be they would run everything, and we would pay them to operate the golf course and the restaurant. We would pay them. But I guess we would get all the income, right? I mean, we wouldn't pay them.
It'd have to
and
be
with them.
in the contract negotiations on
Right.
how much we pay them and how much they get. It would have to be negotiated.
Okay, but I think, as Mike was indicating, we would be paying them under a management agreement. And then however the income was divided up. Whereas a lease agreement, we would be the landlord, they would be the lessee or the renter, and they would, they would pay us for the privilege of running that every month. Depending, and of course, what we've done historically, what we did with Monument Lake, is basically give them rent credits or say, you don't have to pay for a while they're getting started.
Okay. Erin, do you have any questions?
Yeah, is what we have with the Buckhorn Outfitters,
Right.
are they a management agreement or a lease?
Lease.
Okay.
Lease.
I think we just got the golf course's financials again, and, obviously it is really and truly, as it is a losing proposition, it doesn't make money. So I'm not sure,
The golf course or?
the golf course, sorry,
Okay,
I'm not
right,
talking about
no,
Monument, I
gotcha.
just wanted to
Gotcha,
get some
sorry.
clarity about that, so I'm not sure. But I wanted to step back and say, first of all, you did a great job with this RFP.
Yeah,
I mean, really good job. It's really thorough. I only had a couple questions about things like insurance, some requirement that they have insurance that benefits the city. I think it would be important. I was a little confused about how capital improvements worked. It seemed like they had to come up with some kind of a plan, but then I was trying to figure out, are we saying they're paying for the capital improvements? Are we paying for capital improvements? How does that work?
Well, in the lease, I think that would be us, because we own the facility, kind of like we do for Monument Lake. We kind of submit and they submit, and be that. Under the management agreement, I think the city would be paying them, and they would have to do the capital improvements under their plan.
So they'd be building into their budget to pay for capital improvements? Okay. And what's the thinking on utilities? Because right now the city pays utilities and the Golf Association doesn't pay any.
Right, I'd have to build that in. I would have to say that's part of the contract negotiations, either for the lease, but on the management, I'd say they pay for them, and then, or that would be part of the city's payment to them, is we cover utilities.
Okay. And then with regard to how we do Monument Lake, we have some part of what they take in as a gate fee that comes to the city, but otherwise they keep the proceeds of
Right.
whatever they raise. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I think so, yeah.
I think that we have to make it so that it's something that somebody would want to do, that it would make sense for them to do it. And that's what I need more time with this to kind of fill that out.
Understood. That's what
Yeah, yeah.
I apologize, I sprung this on you, but I've been working on this, and I thought I better get it in front of you
Thank you.
and
Good job.
then see where we move forward or continue as is. I just wanted to get it in front soon enough so that the Golf Association even has an opportunity to look at it moving forward, because I have to say I've only been up there once, but you can tell things have changed.
Good.
I'll say that.
For the better?
Yes.
Good.
I'm sorry.
That was implied. I just want to make sure everything good. That's not, give credit where credit's due.
Did you say
I
for
think
the
the
better?
association and the city are working better together and taking care of some long-term maintenance issues that are there. I do know that when Guido was there, it was clear that the whole thing was, or at least parts of it, needed a new drip system, a new irrigation system, and that's going to be incredibly costly.
Right.
The greens last year were a question, and I think they've been repaired. I don't really know exactly where things are, but anyways, but the trees are being taken care of and issues around the clubhouse are looking much better.
Yes.
So.
Either.
A few of them have been answered. I know unless you have a reputable managerial company that comes in, a 4-year contract without having the proximity close to the golf course is kind of leery. I don't know if I would do a 4-year contract just to see what's going on first. And I guess, the managerial agency would be effective. Proceeds go to the city, but is it gonna not outweigh what we have to pay out? You know what I'm saying? So there has to be a
Yeah.
balance there somewhere
Yeah.
to benefit both the golf association and the city.
Right.
No, I don't have any questions to go through this one.
Yeah, we all need to.
Right?
Manning.
The only thing, I can't remember if I saw or bypassed it, was there a severability to be able to? if they break
That would be
these-
built into the agreement where termination would be like, certain things aren't being met and you'd have a termination clause.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Woman, 4 years, yeah, I think 4 year, but trying to figure out which one we're gonna go with. I do like the model that we have with Monument Lake, because that seems like that has been extremely beneficial to us in our community.
And I know that, you know, the lease option was there, and I know that you had somebody present wanting to take it over, so that's why I put the 2 options, and it would be their proposals that council would have to really dig into and see direction, you know, in 6-7 months from now.
So just like when, and it's just kind of strange, like, I seen the timeline that was on here. Will this be brought up at a regular meeting, or we'll have another work session on it, or how do you want us to move forward to come to some type of
That's
decision?
a
for
tough
this
thing.
part?
I'm trying to, since I'm not gonna be here, and I'm gonna bring Tara up to speed on what's going on here. You know I made this public information and people can get it, but I don't want anybody to get an unfair advantage of looking at this and starting their process without, us finally releasing the documents. So I know that didn't answer your question, but we have 5 Mondays in April. So there's 2, the 21st and the 28th. This could be brought back up for further discussion if council would like.
And I don't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
We might also need legal advice from you on it, so we might need an executive.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm kind of trying to digest this as well and the benefits of the 2 options. But I think at least another work session would be appropriate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we have an executive to kind
Right.
of go through? Okay.
Right, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Is this contract traditional with municipalities and golf courses, or is this a unique version that you?
No, this is taking examples from other communities who actually own golf courses and lease them out for operation. So
And
I try,
with the Monument Lake piece, is that similar to, using their model, is that similar to what the city wants to achieve with this golf course? Is that,
correct.
okay, just wanted to make sure.
That's the lease option.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, all things being equal, I'd be more inclined to see a lease option with the caveats that have been mentioned already, but I'm not sure that all things are equal in the sense of, I want to be careful how I say this. Monument Lake was not being operated properly. I mean, the genesis of that was there was a lot of problems occurring up there, a lack of insurance, all sorts of stuff, and really had a sense of a diamond in the rough. And I think it was able to attract some outside attention that was very beneficial. Whereas the golf course, by all accounts that I know of, and I'll disclose I'm not a golfer, but a lot of people have mentioned to me that they really appreciate what's going on up at the golf course, and I've had several really positive feedbacks of that. So, and on the flip side of that, it would be interesting if we could have a crystal ball and know how much interest this is going to garner. That would be helpful, but we can't really predict that.
Right.
So once again, we're left in the position of we need to make the best decision based on what we know for as many constituents as is possible. And so I think that being said, I definitely need some more time to read that. I do appreciate the effort, Mr. Valentine. It's, having written several large requests for proposals, I can appreciate the work that went into this, and that would be very helpful if it goes that way, so thank you for it. But I do think I need some more time, and it would be good to have further discussion in the work session. I think it's imperative that we try and maintain the contents of this in order to maintain the most fair, not provide any advantage. I think that's important, so it's good you mentioned that. That's all I have.
In looking at this, on the first page, it says, the successful proposer shall be an independent contractor and shall furnish all management, supervision, labor, and other services required by the city. But it would be nice if we could actually list what we are considering, what we want, what those entail. You know,
As far as the management, supervision, labor, it's pretty extensive, laid out in appendixes.
Okay.
How we want the operation to manage, how the grass should be maintained, how to.
does it also list in there any kind of insurance that,
Right, I've made a note of that, because I don't.
not insurance, but make sure that if these aren't performed correctly, that we have the option of making corrective action.
And that would be in the eventual agreement, and we would want to emphasize in the request for proposal there that they would be responsible for that if that's how we go about doing that. And I think too, like independent contractor in the paragraph you just read from, that's highlighted because we don't know right how we're going to refer to them.
Right,
I mean, if it's
Thank you.
lessee, management company, or however that's going to be, but I think that's what I wanted to know.
Exactly right. And further in the document, it defines where, let's say the golf association says they want to do it, they can, as an entity, do that. And that's exactly why I highlighted independent contractor. So it's like, yeah, that's probably not good language there. I need to kind of work at that, but.
No, this is pretty extensive. I know we've waited a long time for this, Mike, and it's not your fault. There's
It is, because I wanted to do it before I left the first time, but I didn't get her done, so.
You're getting her done now.
It would be nice to find out if there's any examples of financially what model would fit our situation. I mean, because at the economy as it is, we're going to really have to buckle down,
Right.
And it seems like all the years that we tried to get monument, proper management for monument, it almost seems like whoever asks or wants this facility to manage or lease, they've got to have some type of financial backing. I don't know, but it seems like we failed at Monument Lake for many years because everybody was trying to do it, didn't have the financial wherewithal to hang in there. So I don't know if that's in the request.
There is a section for, when they
Financial,
submit their proposals, where they need to submit
financials?
financials and that type of information that they
Okay.
can do this.
And there's a $500,000, what is that?
Like a performance bond,
Okay,
kind of a bond that if they don't move forward, I think that's just on the management side, not on the lessee side. If the management team comes in and says, we're gonna do all these great things, and city council says, okay, you need to put up a $500,000 bond, that if you don't do them, we call them on the bond.
all righty.
And if I could please, Mayor, I just want council to kind of be thinking about it. Like, a classic lease agreement is, they agree to lease the premises from the city. And they, you know, in a classic situation, they would be renting from the city, and it would be very general, and they would run the operation basically as they see fit. Whereas a management company, or a proposal for a management company, they would have to demonstrate how they were going to run the restaurant, the bar. I know they're kind of separate right now. From having spoken to Ms. Lambton over the lunch hour, but you know, they're going to run the restaurant, the bar, the golf course, anything else that is implied or involved in that. An applicant would have to tell us how they were going to manage everything. And I think a management agreement would afford us more control. It would require more supervision and more, more ongoing sort of compliance other than a lease agreement. A lease agreement is basically, you keep the premises in good operating order, you do what you agree to, you pay rent. Now, rent, it's kind of tough because of all the things we know about, like the water that is used during the growing, during the summer and spring, and how much water is used. Hard for the golf course to make money. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you those thoughts and say that. But with all the expenses, it's hard for that to be a moneymaker. And Monument Lake, once all the kind of improvements were made and all that infrastructure was done, it isn't as expensive to operate, I don't believe, Monument Lake as it is a golf course during the summer months when it's really going. But anyway, that's all I have.
Okay,
Okay. Just those thoughts.
any final questions?
No, I did find the termination of convenience, termination of cause in there, those are both in there. And then I did briefly just found the maintenance schedules, and you are absolutely right, they are extensive. But it doesn't make sense to have that completely laid out, because that sets a standard of what we're looking for.
No, I think it's necessary.
Yeah. But no, the other question is on the management portion. Do we have enough staff to be out there monitoring when we have to be out there? No,
If you notice that everywhere it says contact someone from the city, I put the city manager. That needs to change. It can't be the city manager, It has to be Parks and Rec or somebody that knows that. So, do we have it? It'll be tight, but hopefully, it could be like Buckhorn Outfitters, where, Mr. Ramirez is up there close by, but they just run a tight ship, and it's not a lot of oversight.
And the lease side, we don't have that. We don't have to worry about that as much, right?
Well, you still need to have some oversight if they're, if things aren't getting done, we'd have to step in, definitely, but not as much, correct.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, last call. All right,
So if I heard right, we want time to digest and then more discussion?
yes,
Okay,
all right.
thank you.
Thank you. we're done.
That's weird.
What?
That's weird.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys please all keep your